What's up, guys? Welcome back to Daniel Talks Football right here on YouTube. I'm Daniel and we are back with another video. In this video, we're going to be speaking about how to fix Ajax. This is the first year that Ajax haven't won the Eredivisie since 2018, and it's looking like they won't even be getting second place, which means it will be Europa League football for the Amsterdam-based side next year. It's the first time that they haven't got into the Champions League groups since that year when they didn't win it of 2017-18, presuming obviously they don't end up sparking a mass miracle or points deductions or something, which won't happen. So how do you rebuild Ajax? That's the big question. In this video, we're going to be looking at the manager situation as well as a shake-up which needs to happen within the playing squad. Now, John Heitinga's, I think, contract expires at the end of the season, so first we are going to need to find a new manager for this Ajax project. My pick to take over this Ajax side is Louis van Gaal. Van Gaal will be remembered by most English fans for a fairly unsuccessful spell at Manchester United. However, he has a very, very good history in Dutch football and would go into this job with a lot of respect to his name. He was dismissed as Netherlands manager in 2022, being replaced by former Everton manager Ronald Koeman. However, many people forget that Van Gaal's first proper job was with this Ajax side when he led the Dutch side for 6 years between 1991 and 1997. He won the Eredivisie 3 times with them in this spell, as well as the Champions League in 1995. For me, Van Gaal would be an experienced appointment and would offer the stability this Ajax side needs to get them back on top. It wouldn't be the most inspiring appointment in the world, however, it would be a stability-based appointment. He could start bringing through this new crop of Ajax players, which is needed with a lot of probably those Ajax players that we all imagine, the good ones. Feels harsh to say that, but it's true. The good ones will probably leave this summer, so you're going to need to bring through that next crop with there currently not being that sort of middle layer there of Ajax players. But what about the playing staff? First of all, we need to have a look at the contract situation. Grealish has a contract expiring this summer. He's only played 10 games in the league, and I think it'd be time to move him on. Next summer, you've got David Klaassen, Dusan Tadic, Pasveer, and Fitzjim, all having contracts expiring in the summer of 2024. Personally, I'd give Klaassen a 2-year extension, as he's been very, very good this season, getting 10 goal involvements from that centre midfield position this year. Give Tadic a 1-year extension as well. 10 goals and 18 assists in the league alone. He's been so good for this Ajax side, and he's needed to lead forward that new project at least for 1 more year. I would sell Fitzjim this summer if he won't sign a new deal. You could possibly get a little bit of cash there. And I would keep Pasveer on until the end of that deal before you let him leave on a free transfer to keep him as a backup goalkeeper. Furthermore, in terms of outgoings, we need to have a look at some of the big players that might want to move on from this club. I think Timber, Alvarez and Kudus will all want to move on. I feel like these players will want to go out and get Champions League football this summer, so I've allowed those 3 players to leave, as well as Fitzjim. With these 3 players plus Fitzjim moving on this summer, I feel like we will have around £140 million to spend as Ajax manager. 50 million you could pick up from Timber, 45 from Kudus, 40 from Alvarez, and then 5 from Fitzjim. That gives us 140 million as Ajax manager. Now we are on to the incomings. The first position we need to look at is centre-back. The only centre-back staying at the club from this season is Calvin Bassey, who I don't think is good enough to start. So I think we need 2 starting centre-backs and 1 new backup. The first one of these starting centre-backs is Medina. Medina is a left-footed Argentinian centre-back. He's 23 years old, playing for Lens in Ligue 1. Lens do look like they could be getting Champions League football, so probably will want to keep Medina. However, I feel like a bid of around 20 million could tempt them into selling him. He's a very, very good player, and I think he could possibly get that step up to a side like Ajax, which I do think is a step up from Lens, even if they don't have Champions League football. De Bast is another central defender I feel as if Ajax should be signing this summer. He's 19 years old, playing for Anderlecht in the Belgian top flight. He's looked very composed for this Ajax side this season throughout, and with them finishing 11th in the league, I feel like you could possibly get De Bast for around £10 million. And the last final defender I feel like Ajax should sign is Erud Pletings. however you pronounce it. Everwood has just won the Oliver Player of the Year, and it's clear to see why. At 22 years of age, Everwood has led Liverpool to 10th in the Belgian Pro League, a season which is a very, very good season for Oliver. With the Oliver owner, top Sweetwater upper par, being in financial trouble, he's the same owner as my club, Leicester City, I feel a fee of around 10 million would be enough to tempt them into selling. The only issue is, does Top possibly see Everwood being a player that he could possibly move to his main club, Leicester City, this summer? If not, then I definitely do feel like Ajax could go in there and get him for a very, very cheap price. With centre-back now being sorted, there's around 100 million left to sort out the midfield and attack. With Alvarez leaving that DM position, you do need 2 new defensive midfielders to come in and play for this Ajax side. The first one of these that I feel like should be Elyes Skakiri. Elyes will be available on a free transfer this summer with his contract expiring at FC Köln. 7 goals for Köln in the Bundesliga this season, and at 28, I feel like he would add some good experience into this midfield for this Ajax side. However, with one of these DMs then nearing 30, they'll need to bring in a younger player too for this position, in my opinion. This guy is Ugachukwu. He's the guy for me. 24 games in Ligue 1 for Ron this season. At 19, I feel like this would be the perfect time to sign him to possibly make a big profit. The big sides are already looking at him, so get him in this summer before they all start to circle for next summer, really. I think you could give him time at Ajax and you'll see him flourish. If you could give him maybe 2 or 3 years there, I think, again, you could be seeing this player turn into another 40, 50, 60 million pound player for Ajax. I think you could possibly be picking up for around £12 million this summer as well. I think a backup attacking midfielder for Tadic is also needed this window. With Tadic's contract expiring next summer, and with him now being at 34 years of age, a new backup is needed. This player, I think, should be Fabio Carvalho. This is one of the star signings for this Ajax side, in my opinion. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that he will be leaving Liverpool this summer, if on a loan or permanently, he's not sure. However, at 20 years old, I feel like it's time for Carvalho to make a permanent move to a big club. He got 10 goals and 8 assists in the Championship last year when he was just 19 years of age. Liverpool need to rebuild that squad this summer, and a bid of around 20 million could tempt them into selling a player who is not in their first team plans. And then moving into the attack, we have around 70 million left to spend. I feel like 1 right and 1 left winger is needed, as well as 2 strikers, with me not deciding to sign Lorenzo Luca on a permanent deal. The right winger I've gone for is Tete. Tete plays for Shakhtar, however he is currently on loan at Leicester City, where he has been fairly poor in all honesty. He played for Lyon during the first half of this season with 6 goals and 2 assists for the French club in Ligue 1 over the first half of the season. He struggled with the physicality of the Premier League at times and has actually been quite disappointing and has frustrated a lot of the fans. However, I feel like in I don't want to say a weak league, but in a less physical league that is the Eredivisie, I feel like a player that is could thrive, and he's done really, really well in Ligue 1. It could be a very good place for him to possibly rebuild his reputation, and with only having 6 months left on his contract with Shakhtar Donetsk, I feel like a bid of around 10 million would be enough to tempt them into selling him this summer, or wait until January and pick him up on a free transfer. Next up is left wing, and again, I think you're sticking the Premier League for this one, and I think Anthony Elanga is the guy that Ajax should be targeting. He's been a big talent for Manchester United for years, however, he hasn't quite stepped up to that next level, and now with Alejandro Garnacho coming through in that Manchester United side, they don't quite need Elanga anymore, in all honesty. I think now would be the time for him to make that move for regular game time. I think you could get him for around 20 million this summer, and while that would be an expensive deal, he's another player that could possibly reach the very, very top of his game. And now onto the 2 strikers. The first one of these is Raul Jimenez. Jimenez has a contract up in 2024 and obviously hasn't been very good this season. Ever since his head injury, he hasn't quite been at the same levels he was beforehand. However, at the age of 32, I think he is now, he would offer some much needed experience into this Ajax side and into this Ajax front line. He could act as a guide for Broby, and also the guy who I'm also choosing to bring in as well as Jimenez. He probably wouldn't get much game time, however, he would be a very, very good option off the bench. And for 10 million, which I think you could get him in for, I think he'd be a very, very shrewd option. And then last but not least, it's Pepe. Pepe. 12 goals for... Who's he playing for? He's playing for Groningen, isn't he? 12 goals for Groningen this season. on loan from Augsburg. Obviously, he got that big move from the MLS to Augsburg and hasn't quite worked out. However, it looks like the Eredivisie is the home for him. PSV, Ajax, and all of the Eredivisie clubs are interested in him, to be honest, but I think Ajax should be the club that should go out and do it. You probably get 15. You probably get him for around 15 to 20 million from Augsburg, if not less. And I feel like for that kind of price, he'd be a no-brainer to go out and get to possibly flip for double that money. Do you think that fixes Ajax if they go out and do those transfers this summer? It's always been a very, very disappointing season for them. But if they do it, do you think they'll be back winning the Eredivisie next season? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you all again in the next video. See ya!